The hope is that we will end up fully alive. If you're intellectually in need of development, read a book, take a course, join a discussion group, come to the Monday night series, pay attention during the homily, etc., etc., etc. If you're needing moral development, join a support group, get some counseling, join a volunteer organization and do something for somebody else. You'll see yourself in a whole new light, and you'll see them in a whole new light. John LaRocca, preaching today on today's gospel, which is Matthew's last judgment, pointed out the wicked didn't know they were ignoring Jesus, but perhaps equally important is the good didn't know either that he was there. They did it because these people needed help. So go out and do something good for somebody. You might find Jesus, because standing behind, if it's affective, go to a play, study a musical instrument, take a course in how to write poetry, take a course in basic drawing, get some therapy, do some role playing. The resources we've got to grow as human beings are amazing. And behind all of this ultimately stands Augustine, who said he found God in his memory. He always wondered where God was, so he went out and lived life. And when he sat down to reflect upon life, he discovered, God had been there all along. Just as in Matthew's parable, Jesus had been in all those people. Our resources are great if we choose to use them. Which ones are appropriate, try to figure it out, what would work best. What we do as a community, though, is next Sunday, theoretically, we'll present the people being initiated with the creed, with, you'll notice, the profession of our faith, with the proclamation of our trust, because that's who we are. We're the people who trust in Jesus, in God and in Jesus, in the Spirit and in the church. I always like the Apostles' Creed because it's, if you know grammar, it's a series of appositives. Comma, 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 comma. And all those nouns somehow are the same thing. That's what appositives do. I believe in the Holy Spirit, comma, the Holy Catholic Church, comma, the communion of saints, comma, the forgiveness of sins, comma, and the life everlasting, period. And all of that list is somehow one thing, which leads to full life. After that, we'll spend 3 Sundays with the scrutinies. And you got to put things in the pot. Put things in the pot. Because it's amazing. I'm the one, I do not write them. I do not compose them. I collate them. People say, oh, that third one nailed me. Well, I didn't write the third one. I composed it. But what I put in the third one is probably what 2 people, sometimes it's just one person, put in there. And their words are so authentic. Their words are so flat out honest. And as usual, since God deals in reality, when other people hear honest, authentic words, it moves within us, doesn't it? So put yours in the pot and inspire the rest of us. And when you look at them, you'll discover that sometimes they're intellectual, sometimes they're affective, sometimes they're moral, sometimes they're spiritual. But those are the conversions that we're yearning for. So that when we become fully alive, God will be glorified. Not in guilt, not in worry, not in shame, but in life. And if we do that, if we surrender that to the Spirit, things will happen. In the late 70s, up on Marion Avenue, the Harton's kids, one of their oldest boys now lives there. It was this awful nursing home. One of those cheap as they come ones. And we found out there were 3 Catholics in it. And so once a week, we set up a ministry, and 4 of us, we'd go 2 by 2, would take turns in bringing them communion and, sharing the word with them. And it was a real ministry. They were, I think we were probably the only people who visited them. And we 2 of us took them communion on Easter Sunday morning because it seemed the right thing to do. After all, on the day of resurrection, you should go to communion. And the one woman she was in her late 50s. She was originally from, I think, Grand Rapids, Michigan. She had run her own shop there, had not gotten married till she was 45, and had moved to Cincinnati to be with her husband, who was from here. They had evidently had a good marriage for 8-9 years, and then she had an extremely debilitating stroke. So what he did was he dumped her in this cheap-ass nursing home, and he went off and continued with his life. And what she told us that Easter Sunday morning was that for all of Lent, her life was Lent. All of Lent, she'd said 3 rosaries a day rather than 1, because she wanted to forgive him. And it was one of those glorious spring mornings. And we were giving her communion, and she said, "I woke up this morning, the sun was shining, and I looked in my heart, and the bitterness was gone." That Easter Sunday morning, Jesus' hand reached out to her. And she knew exactly what had to come fully alive in her. So on Easter Sunday morning, when he reaches out his hand, what do you and I want to hear him say? Thank you.